What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in, all of you who are here. This is like an entirely new little live setup that we are doing here. We got AirPods on and trying to use.
Triathlon tips and an inside look at my training. Quick and subscribe.
Justin's just doing an ad real quick.
And we're trying to use a new camera for the live stream thing. So I hope it looks good. I hope you guys can hear us. And just thanks so much for coming and hanging out.
Let us know if you can't hear us.
Yeah, somebody speak up, please. Put us out of our misery. So like the reason we wanted to do this is just because we feel like through this entire thing, like you guys have been so much of a part of what we've been. Like we have put out videos every Sunday and kind of feel like we have this community and it's kind of kept us going. And I think it's been a big part of being having the success last weekend. So we just wanted to kind of hang out, throw some high fives, and give you guys like a first little insight into how the race went. There will be a video this weekend. I'm editing it right now, so this is not like instead of that, but
this is like insane. There'd be like 2 people on this chat, and it's like flowing in 400 people. Oh my gosh, this is so crazy. Like honestly, my phone's been exploding ever since the race. Every single person that's like been a part of my triathlon career or just like watched us or me over the years has messaged me, and it's like overwhelming but also awesome. So thank you if you've and thanks for tuning in right now.
Yeah,
so crazy.
I think we'll just like kind of acknowledge right off the bat the race week was kind of tumultuous, mostly my fault. I didn't realize that my passport had been expired for several months, just because I hadn't had any reason to look at it or anything. But luckily, thanks to some help, Cox, actually, big shout out to that guy, got a fresh passport, so we can now go back to Canada. Right now, though, we were in Portland for a couple of days while we were waiting for this. That put us off on like kind of a crazy note, but I just got to say, like, the way that you stayed calm through that whole process was incredible. And if anybody's ever read that Flow State book, I think like being incredibly worked up about a thing before having a big competition can sometimes
I tried to separate myself from Eric a bit that week, just in terms of emotions, because I tend to get like very like, what are we going to do about it? Like, what's the plan? But I was trying to focus on racing, and the passport thing was just so distracting. Eric was stressed and grumpy. And so I just like kind of removed myself from the situation and believe it was going to work out. So thank you to Talbot. Like we couldn't have done it without him gotten a passport this quickly. He has some connections. So anyway, enough about that. I've had, there's a lot of people asking where Flynn is, and he's in Canada with my parents. So originally we were planning on flying straight back after Daytona, but this put us on a detour through our house in Portland. So we're going to be back to see him as soon as we can. I don't know if he even remembers us anymore, but he's totally fine.
He is doing great.
My parents have actually like crate trained him, leash trained him. Like apparently he's a brand new dog. So we're going to be going back.
Allegedly.
Going back to an angel puppy.
Yeah, but I guess like kind of getting into some of the questions, I don't even know where to start. It's so difficult. Like you obviously, I just like to quote other people, you had like this insane performance, not only for you, but just for like the sport of triathlon that was like dominant, and pretty much every big name in 70.3 and many from Ironman and a couple from ITU were there, and you just had like this quote unquote magical, perfect, whatever day. And what do you feel like laid the foundation or like kind of major factors to make that happen?
Yeah, so this whole year, obviously, I haven't raced. I didn't know what to expect because you don't know what anyone else had been doing. I didn't know how fit anybody was. I knew I'd been training well, so that gave me some confidence. If you watched our video right before the race, I had like one of the best run workouts I've ever had. So I was confident in that. I'd been riding the trainer, doing well at Zwift racing. But again, all these things are so meaningless because they're just numbers, and so you never know how a race day is going to happen. And I was honestly really nervous about the swim because we didn't swim for 6 months this year, and 2K is a long way. But I got out of the water in a super good position and didn't really want to mess around with the 20-meter rule and get a penalty. So I just like decided to go straight for the front. And once you decide to pass one person, you pretty much have to pass everybody because you can't slot in. So I was like leading the race pretty early on and feeling in control. So I think the key to having a good race was just consistency this year. I wasn't injured. I ran the entire year without any interruptions. So there was no big epic training sessions or big, huge blocks or anything like that. It was all just like little tiny workouts pieced together for an entire year. And that's ultimately what it takes, I think, to be fast. So.
Yeah, I would echo that 100%. There, like a lot of times we'll look at what some other people are doing, and then you see these crazy workouts posted on Strava and stuff, and you think, oh my gosh, how can I compete with that? But then sometimes that person's injured the next month, and just having, this long stretch of time with no downtime over the course of the year, and being able to early on, especially go, foot's hurting or whatever it is, not going to run today, and not be stressed about a race in 10 days. That was huge.
A lot of people are asking how I felt, if I looked comfortable. Did I do any strength training this year? I didn't actually. I did like less strength training than I've ever done. I told myself like I'm going to do yoga and core all the time, like while we were kind of locked down, but I didn't. So I think also the low stress of the year, I think not racing took away any pressure. Getting Flynn gave us this extra distraction. Having TTL to work on gave us another project. So all of that combined put triathlon like a little bit down the totem pole just because there were no races to train for. So that helped a lot as well. I did actually feel super comfortable in the race. Like it was one of those days where everything sort of came together and I didn't feel like it was that hard. Like we came down from altitude, so my breathing was under control the whole time. I never felt like I was out of my, pushing too hard. The only points where I really had to surge was to pass people when I was lapping them, to try to get out of their draft zone and stuff. So that required probably like a 350 watt surge every time. But that's where the Zwift racing came in handy. We were riding at that watt, so those watts were like 15 minutes at a time. So yeah, it was really crazy racing at sea level after training in Canmore for 4 months. I think that played a huge part in just feeling comfortable and looking comfortable and feeling like I always had another gear if I needed it. And but I didn't really need it.
Yeah, after watching the experience of Zwift racing, and if you've ever Zwift raced, there's no point in a triathlon where things are that searingly painful. So I feel like that was definitely an advantage that you had, at least over me. I didn't want to take part in the Zwift racing. The check, we did carry on the check. Somebody asked about if the huge vanity check was carry on.
We got a giant check, and it was like kind of an epic, crazy amount of money. So I feel like it'd be a cool thing to hang in the garage or something for training. So we brought it on. We just put it in like the flight attendant's closet.
It's amazing.
They kind of rolled their eyes, but
no, it's amazing how friendly people are when you walk through the airport with $100,000 check.
It was mostly funny. Like I was trying to hide it. I posted a video, but other than that, we were like very hiding it because it's kind of embarrassing. If someone's asking if Eric watched my race.
Yes, that was incredibly amazing and challenging for me, knowing that I had to go race afterwards. The broadcast, I hope everybody tuned in and watched it, and will maybe shown on television, but it was absolutely incredible. You could see what was happening the entire time. Obviously Paula was winning, and that helped immensely, but I had to turn off the broadcast as she was nearing the end of the bike, and then ride my bike over to the racetrack to get ready for my race. And as I'm like trying to run around and warm up and everything, they're talking about how she's come back from all this stuff, and since 2010, and I was like having a hard time warming up. I was getting so emotional about it, watching this happen and knowing to it and everything. So it was very, very difficult for me to try to then refocus after that and think about what I could possibly do in my race that would feel that significant. And if you've ever watched your significant other race a triathlon, you know that you feel like you raced at the end of their race because of just how emotionally invested you get. So yeah, that was a struggle. I'm definitely not going to blame my performance on that. I had some other issues going on with some stomach stuff and everything, but I was,
What kind of coffee did we drink race morning? Our hotel had an espresso machine, which are actually great in a pinch. And then I've also been really into, not sponsored by them, but Untapped, or the Endurance Tap gels. They're like maple syrup, and they have caffeinated ones. So it tastes just like maple syrup. They're really delicious, but it has like as much caffeine as a cup of coffee. So I took a couple of those before and during the race.
Those are tasty. The only problem with those is they go away too fast.
Yeah.
What else? I guess I could talk about like I feel like I should say something about my race, even though it wasn't the thing of the day. I had some stomach issues. I'm not sure if I ate an expired gel or what the problem was, or if it was just like extreme nerves, but I felt pretty flat in the swim and then got on the bike and absolutely like just had that feeling of lactic acid in my legs from the beginning, couldn't really push any power. But I gave myself all the way until the finish line on the run to try to, have a breakthrough or overcome that and start feeling good again. And unfortunately that never came, but I'm pretty happy that I continued doing the whole race and got to experience it, and actually had a kind of a nice conversation with Matt Hansen on one lap of the run, and not Matt Hansen, Matt Russell. Matt Hansen was flying. He was not talking to anybody. So it was not a fun day for me, but not a fun more entire day was absolutely a win because of how much I feel like I'm a part of what Paula did. So.
And you got $2,500.
Yeah, and so we made $102,500, and I will be going crazy with my $2,500.
You can spend it however you want. A lot of people are asking like if I knew I had it in the bag, or like when I was confident I was going to win. And to be honest, racing on that course, there's not a ton of feedback or splits, or we're not a ton of like spectators or coaches on the course giving time gaps. So I had no idea where I was, especially on the bike. I knew I was with Lisa, but I assumed that everyone else was right behind us. So I never really looked back, never had any like, there's no Jumbotron to see where anyone was. So I was pretty shocked when I got off the bike and heard that we had 3 minutes on the next person, or 4 minutes, whatever it was. And then same thing on the run. I knew Lisa was having issues with her calf, so she was walking, but still had no idea like how far back people were. I knew Ann Hogg was behind me, and that's never a nice feeling because I know she could run 3 or 4 minutes into me if she was having a good day. So again, I was like not confident I had it until maybe the last half of the last lap. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. Even though the gap was so big, you never know in that kind of race. I wasn't confident I wasn't going to blow up. I was just trying to hold like 340 per K is what I was running, and tried to maintain that, not speed up, not slow down, just stay as consistent as possible. And what it took, I guess, but definitely was running with a lid of like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Don't mess it up. And yelling at some of the photographers like splits, but they had no idea. So.
Yeah. Somebody asked about like how we knew what lap we were on. One thing they did have was a board basically you would go by each lap, and it would say Paula number 10, 18 laps. So you could kind of see like, if maybe you were going past at the same time as another name if they were a lap down, but it was like kind of impossible to see gaps to anyone else. I kind of figured as I was watching the broadcast and you were continuing to hammer even when you had a couple of minutes that you had no idea.
Yeah.
That you had all
you
that
never
time.
Want to slow down in that kind of a race, even if you have a big gap. Do you guys ever see this race become a contender event for Kona? It was very different than Kona. I think it received maybe about the same height, but that could be just because of the nature of this year, and there was nothing for triathlon fans to get excited about or cheer for. So I felt like it was a big deal, although we were there, so we are kind of biased. It's obviously a lot shorter than Kona. I don't think necessarily the best athlete in Kona can do the best in Daytona and vice versa, but it is pretty cool that, I mean, the prize purse is the same for winning. It's $100,000 to win Kona. It's $100,000 to win Daytona. So
I would say they put like, as far as online, they appeared to come across as similar with the amount of hype they got. Most of our sponsors were down to bonus us as though it was a world championship event. I would think that was slightly lesser is the atmosphere at Kona is just so incredible with being on this small island that's so compact and so many people are there. And Daytona is a little bit more like you're kind of in the hotel and then you go to the track. And obviously there couldn't be a lot of interaction amongst age groupers and stuff this year with coronavirus. But I think that's kind of the thing that sets Kona apart is that cool little island vibe that it has going on in the legacy. But in terms of like showing a triathlon online, I think this was a new level of production.
We actually met a couple of the NASCAR people who work for NASCAR. They were kind of leading the show, and it was pretty incredible to hear about how they were going to do it and have like the time splits and have little bubbles to each athlete to show who they were. And they really knew nothing about triathlon before this weekend. They had to obviously study a little bit about the athletes, but they do race car commentary. So it was kind of cool to have that outside perspective. And obviously with the help of Belinda and Alicia Kay and a couple other triathlete professional or former professionals, I think it was a good dynamic between the two of them to have this completely new person in the sport, but very experienced with sport commentating and then triathlete knowledge as well.
Yeah. We had like a moment to speak with the guy who was doing the race commentary, and he was telling a story about something he did a couple of years ago at a party, and he made that sound exciting. He made this party that he was at with a poker tournament sound like the most exciting thing ever. And I think that's like what a really great announcer from NASCAR can bring, is that they can make your game of checkers sound like the most exciting thing ever. One of the questions we're getting a lot is, of course, $100,000. When I say we, like I have that much say, but I think one of the things we'd really like to do, and we've been dreaming about for a while, is actually being able to move to Bend, and that would be really helpful with part of a down payment. And if that doesn't work out, I don't think there's a new van in the future, but.
Yeah, I feel a lot of people are like, "Oh, new van," but I love our van. Like, we don't need a new van. It breaks down sometimes, but it has everything we need in it. It's so totally functional. Eric kind of built up the inside, so it works for us. And some of the vans are just so overkill these days, and just totally, we don't need like a stove and a shower and a toilet and everything in it. So. Yeah,
exactly. There's so many things that we could add to it that don't really feel necessary, and we've never come back from camping and gone, oh man, I just wish we, with the exception of maybe a couple times a fridge, but that's a $250 upgrade.
Someone asked, do you think it was harder to be by myself at the front so long as opposed to running beside someone? That's kind of interesting in my mind. I thought if there was any chance of me podiuming at this race, it would be in a battle with like 6 other girls, and it would be like head to head the whole time. And I prefer to run off the front with 3 minutes lead. It's like much more relaxing and enjoyable. Being in a head to head battle is obviously more exciting to watch, and more exciting maybe for me too, but it was also fun to be so far ahead that I didn't have to stress too much and didn't have it come down to a sprint finish. Let's run my own pace and not worry about surges and stuff like that.
To you guys who are like chipping us little bits of money, that's freaking amazing. Thank you so much, especially Eric for the future move to Bend. We appreciate that. Every little bit's gonna help. That'll help. Like on that note though, somebody else asked if we have mugs coming back. The mugs are like being put in boxes as we speak and should be available to buy on the site tomorrow. So for anybody who didn't get one of those in the first time that we put them out, that 3-color coffee mug is going to be back. And then we also did some special water bottles that are part of the winter collection. They just showed up like a week late, and these things are awesome.
Yeah, they're cool. So many people are asking about our nutrition strategy. I'm not good at nutrition. That's like my biggest downfall in races is I don't eat or drink enough and then suffer later on in the race. So I made a pretty big conscious effort this time to drink my entire bottle, and I only drank 1 bottle. It actually just had Scratch in it, and then I put a couple of the Endurance Tap gels inside the bottle as well. So it was like not scientific in any way. It was just like sugar in the bottle. But I did cut my straw so that it was like right at my face, which I've never done before. I used to have it like popping all over. So I like picked a point on the track and took a sip every single time I passed that point. So that was like 20 sips of water, and then I finished my bottle. So that was great. And then on the run, I took a bottle, just water every aid station, and 1 more gel. So yeah, nothing magical, very simple. I could probably get a lot more, especially in a hot race. I think it would be more important to be a little more careful about electrolytes and stuff, but that worked for me.
This was actually a pretty cool race. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't hot at all. It was like 18 Celsius.
Yeah. Normally my nutrition strategy is pretty dialed. I take like 250 calories in a bottle per hour, plus a gel with a little bit of caffeine each hour, and then just try to grab an extra bottle of water and put as much of that down when I go past an aid station. But something was a little up this time. So I don't think that's indicative of the strategy, but that's usually my strategy. If I hit around 350 to 400 calories an hour, I can usually run well.
Yeah.
And maybe like 100 milligrams of caffeine every 90 minutes or so, I would say, is like a good pace.
Did you see coming down from altitude as a strategy? We touched on that a tiny bit. Necessarily a strategy as much as just like it just happened that way. So we were in Canmore. Honestly, being in Canmore for those months before the race was not optimal. It was icy, it was freezing, it was cold, got dark at 5 p.m. It was like typical Canadian winter. And we were there because my family's in Canada. I hadn't been home for a year and I love it there, even though it's cold. So the pool was open, actually. That was a huge benefit. But basically all of our training was inside in the garage. Our hard run sessions, our hard bike sessions were all indoors. That gets to you pretty hard mentally. Like it's not easy to get on the trainer in the garage when it's freezing cold in the garage too. So it wasn't perfect, but I think for this type of a course, it worked. And we spent a lot of time in the aero position on the trainer, doing just super long, hard 3-hour rides, runs off the bike on the treadmill. And then it had the added perk of being at altitude. So when we went down to Daytona, at least I felt like it was easy to breathe.
Yeah, I felt like I kind of just burned too many matches with the altitude and the indoor training. Is like maybe just a little bit too much stimulus for me. I struggled with it. Paula's like phenomenal at riding the trainer and can knock out workouts and just get it done. In me, I get like this rush when I see bushes going by fast and the wind in my face and all that, touchy feely stuff that kind of gets me going and gets me to put out the best power. And I think like in a perfect situation, we would do a blend of indoor and outdoor riding versus 100% indoor.
Yeah.
Julianne, thank you for the contribution. And I want to make sure I answer your question. What does off season look like in terms of aerobic versus anaerobic training in hours per week? The off season, basically, we'll take a few weeks off here where we just kind of go run every few days or go for a bike ride if we feel like it. But it's definitely not training. It's just kind of like when we feel like going and doing a thing, or a friend wants to hang out and go for a run, we'll do it. And then I think we'll start in on January 1st, probably somewhere around like 12 hours of training, and it'll be like almost exclusively base. And we'll probably build up like 2 hours of training each week off of that. And there'll be like some very quick hill sprints in there, or just like little quick 15-yard sprints in the pool just for activation. But for the most part, just kind of very aerobic training. And then 8 weeks, 6 weeks out from the actual event, we'll start doing specific training and getting more into the energy zones systems that we'll use for races.
I personally am a lot less stressed and more relaxed about this off season because it felt like we had a whole year of off season and then 2 months of specific prep, and we raced really well. So we didn't swim forever, like 6 months out of the pool. So I'm not worried about taking 2 weeks out of the pool right now. This year's been really good for just taking some of the stress away and relaxing and realizing that you can train less but still be just as fast or faster. So that's the lesson I'm taking away from 2020 is we're not trying to do the most hours per week. The program our coach gives us every week is fairly underwhelming. It doesn't look that hard on paper. It's usually the same week after week for a block, so there's no surprises. But it just kind of works. If you can stay healthy and do every single little session that doesn't look that exciting, then you'll be fast.
Yeah. I'll just knock out a couple questions real quick. Did you guys run in college? Yes. I think you were much better at running in college. I was not a good runner, but I did it.
Yeah. I grew up running track. So like on the track and field team, did like the 3K and the 800 and the 1500. And I think it helped with my speed and winning ITU races back in the day, but it also kind of was my downfall in terms of injury. And running on a 200-meter indoor track in Canada gets you injured.
Yeah. Somebody asked what t-shirt I'm wearing and how you can get it. This is actually by a surf brand called Vishla, and this is like a specific t-shirt that they did, or all seeds go to this Ocean Preservation Society and stuff. So VISSLA, that's the surf brand that did it. And just to like make note of that, definitely psyched to do something like this with TTL in the future, Pocket T specifically, and then also some sort of things that would go to benefit some charities that we're stoked on. So glad somebody brought that up. Just brought it out of the box today.
Someone asked if Texas being canceled was a blessing in disguise. I don't think so. I don't think it would have changed the Daytona result.
I think it would have been better for me, honestly, if Texas had not been canceled, because like I fully like went all in just to get to the taper week of Texas. And then when Texas was canceled and we had to go back and do another hard week of training indoors, I think that kind of cracked me a little bit. I was really looking forward to doing the Texas race and then doing some outdoor bike rides in Texas in preparation for Daytona. So
the plus
hard
side
to
is
say
that
for sure.
we didn't unpack. We just like left all our race stuff in a suitcase. So when we left for Daytona, it only took us like an hour to pack because everything was already packed. So it gave us like a little 2-week head start on all that. My mom just chipped into the $50.
Oh yeah, with a Flynn update. Flynn is sleeping.
After
Flynn is currently sleeping, everyone, and they're happy. There you go. Thank you, Sheila.
My mom's our biggest supporter, and she usually buys about like 8 hoodies, 10 crew necks, 17 t-shirts every time we put out new stuff. So if stuff sells out, you can blame her.
Yeah, I sincerely apologize. Also, if you like are in Canada and need one of the items, there's a good chance she has one and can be your dealer. So.
If you live in Edmonton, she's got
get on her list.
What's the beverage of choice going into winter? Scotch, whiskey, or wine?
Well,
not only going into winter, like Eric drinks like a bottle of hard alcohol like every couple months.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Every couple months, that's reasonable. I like to have, this is an old fashioned, which is I typically drink bourbon, and I'll have one of those other night or so, probably just sipping slowly and editing and chilling out, just kind of like a nice evening routine for me. So I don't think I'm an alcoholic, but and when we drink wine, we have to give a shout out to Dusty Neighbor. He's our best buddy. He has his own winery, and check out NSO Wines, Dusty Neighbor Wines. They're awesome. They keep us dialed in the wine department. So
someone asked if I would consider getting a more aero position. Is that bad?
Oh
no. Shoot, it's over.
I don't know how to get this back.
Shit. I said we'll be right back. Just try to figure it out. Just unplug it and use the webcam, can you?
You can't like switch. Oh, you're kidding. Okay. Well, it sounds like you guys can still hear us, so we're going to podcast mode while I try to figure this out.
I'm like swearing.
So like basically what happened is our camera overheated here. Newfangled technology. I gotta get a little camera fan going on here. You want to talk about something while I figure this out?
Well, at least everyone thinks this is funny, so
yeah.
Anyway, Eric tried to be all fancy with using his fancy camera, but it overheated, so
there we go.
Oh, it's back.
No problem. I'm just gonna like slowly fan the rest of the So anyway, I hope we've gotten a lot of this. We've gotten a lot of like the questions answered and stuff. And if we randomly disappear again, that just might be the end of it. But
sorry for swearing, everybody.
Sorry.
I never swear.
I'm like Steph Durings with braces.
Okay, someone asked if I would get a more aero position on my bike. I am like kind of embarrassed by how bad my aero position is. When I see pictures, my head is sticking up, but when I'm like on the bike, I feel like I'm way more aero than I actually am. So yes, I will get a bike fit this year, try to get a new helmet. I'm not sponsored by Oakley, so I can sort of wear any helmet I want. We're talking about maybe 5 different ones and just seeing which one fits me best. Because on a race like that, it doesn't matter on Sunday, but I think it could help me marginally be a little faster and look a bit cooler in the photos.
Yeah, I think a part of it too is with so much coverage like this, like it's very dependent on when the photographer takes your picture. If you're in the mode where you're looking down versus peeking up, and in this race, we all had to be very attentive, obviously, of exactly how far we were from the person in front of us. You can't just go head down for the best picture.
Yeah, there was a lot of looking up
at all times.
Yeah.
So, coffee of choice, we both really like cappuccinos. That's like our favorite thing. Sometimes I'll do Americanos, but I don't feel like I can handle the cappuccino. Oat milk is great for kind of before harder workouts. It's a little better than regular milk. That's our coffee choices. we like to experiment around with a lot of different coffee brands, just anything that's like kind of up and coming in a smaller roaster, and people who send us coffee, we'll try anything.
Yeah, a lot of questions about what our plans are for next year. And for me, the biggest focus is the Collins Cup in May. I think I should qualify for that, given my race on Sunday and then my ranking going into that race. I'm on the international team, so that's basically everything outside of Europe and the US. Everything else is international. And then World 70.3 champs are in St. George next year. So I guess after my race on Sunday, I could say my goal would be to podium there, possibly win. There were some notable names missing in Daytona: Daniela Reef, Lucy Charles, Chelsea Sodaro. So a couple people that definitely will be a factor at World Championships, I think. But it gives me some confidence knowing that I can compete at the front of the race. And I love that course. I've had a lot of success there. So that'll be my main goal. And I know Eric has a little more like gravel in mind.
I'd like to basically pick out 2 or 3 70.3s that I'm really passionate about and care about the course. Like, we'll see what challenge has on tap with their new series and everything, but St. George would be great. Mont Tremblant would be great. And then I'd like to pepper in a couple of gravel events, or maybe try to do something like Patagon Man. Just I get really excited about certain courses, and so we'll see.
Eric Wynn from Slow Twitch is calling me. Eric Wynn, tune into the live chat.
Yeah, get with the program, man. We're doing the Ask Me Anything on Slow Twitch on Friday morning.
Yeah. Do I have any ranking? I think this race actually did count towards the PTO rankings. I haven't checked to see if they've updated or anything and how that works. The rankings are a little confusing to me, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I guess we'll see if they use this race for that.
Somebody asked about Xterra. I would love to do Xterra if they can like get any sort of prize money into that, or something to just at least cover the flights to go to Xterras. That would be great. It breaks my heart that Xterra has not like flourished more than it has, to be honest. Somebody asked about TTL Zwift meetup rides. That's a definite possibility, depending on kind of like where we're at and stuff. We've talked about it. It would be pretty fun to have like a live Zoom thing or some sort of interaction. And I don't know, we have to talk to Zwift about the logistics of that.
This is a good thing we can bring up. So someone asked where we're going to do winter this year, and we want to go to Tucson again, but we need to rent a place. So if anyone has any connections, we want to pay obviously and like actually rent like a house or a suite or something. But if you know someone who knows someone who has a place in Tucson,
yeah,
let us know.
We don't necessarily want to 100% just keep crashing on the Waddy's couch now that we have a dog and we got this whole thing going and everything.
Yeah, Flynn makes it complicated. Someone asked what breed Flynn is. He's a German wire hair pointer. My mom just answered that for you.
Yeah, and German wire hair pointers are also sometimes known as Griffons. There's like slightly different dogs, but very similar. So
yeah, he's getting pretty fluffy.
If you want a Flynn, really, really, really consider your attention, like your patience level within a super energetic dog, and how much you want to do. Like literally 3 30-minute walks a day minimum to keep them from not just being a terrorist. So he's amazing on camera, but he's so intense.
Someone with that. Gave a donation, asked about bike gear.
Jamie, thank you. What crank length, chainring size, tire size, type of power meter, etc. Okay, so I run Shimano. I run 170 cranks. I've got a 54 tooth big chainring. Run a pretty straight cassette in the back, so like 1123 for that course. I use the Shimano power meter. It's got both right and left leg things. We both ran tubeless tires. I ride Argon 18.
25 tubeless tires.
25C tubeless tires with sealant. 1.5 times normal sealant, just for like extra safety.
I think I have a 170 crank length. I have no idea what my chainring size is. My tire size is a 25. I have a cork.
You run 1x, so her chainring size is like, it's like a 30, it's like a 50 or something, and then the cassette in the back makes up the range that you would lose theoretically with a 2x.
I love the 1x setup.
I could get pretty into a 1x.
It's pretty nice on a TT bike, not worrying about shifting the big gear and dropping your chain. And I feel I've never run out of gears going up hills or anything. So big fan of that for the TT bike. What type of tires? We use GP 5000s, tubeless, both of us.
we heard good things about those. They're really hard to get on the tire, so you might have to on the wheel, so you might have to bike shop do that. Someone asks how I'm going to bounce back from this difficulty, and I would say we're gonna bounce back with doing something cool with that $100,000. Like it happens, like you get really bummed out about a race and get down on yourself, but like so many little things can happen on race day, whether it's nutrition or like your girlfriend having the best race of her life and you like almost crying as you're walking into the water to swim. Like so many things can happen. I was pretty confident in my preparation. The only thing that I would change going in next year is less trainer rides, more outdoor rides, because I know that's like good for my overall happiness and soul, and that's the only thing that I would change.
Yeah. A lot of questions is if I'm going to try to go to Tokyo next year, and the answer is I would love to, but I don't think that opportunity is still available to me. There's a lot of politics that go behind the scenes with that, with Triathlon Canada and stuff. So I'm really loving this distance. 73 lets me control my own career a little bit, and the Olympics just require a full 4-year cycle commitment to get enough points to even be ranked high enough. So even if I am currently possibly the fastest female triathlete in Canada, it doesn't mean that I can just Tokyo. So probably not, unfortunately.
Yeah. If there was any way possible, that would be phenomenal, and I'd be all down for pursuing that. Someone asked if I'm getting the new Argon 18 TT bike.
They also asked if we're getting married. Eventually.
Yeah, it's gonna happen, guys.
It's up to him.
Yeah. Oh, it's a group decision, but I'm in charge of the timing. That's for sure. Am I going to get the new Argon 18 TT bike? 100% yes. It's ready to go. They had some delays with coronavirus and China production times and everything. Can't wait to get it. I sort of skipped over the current disc brake TT bike because I didn't feel like the fit was quite exactly the way that I wanted it. It was a little bit more geared towards professional cyclists, but the new TT bike is based off the same geometry as the current TT bike. It's got better storage options. It's got disc brakes. It's going to be absolutely, can't wait.
Okay.
Cue all the engagement, get married things like that tangented super hard.
Where can I find a recording of the race? If you go to protriathlete.org, professional triathlete organization.com, something like that, just Google that. The races are all up there in their entirety from start to finish. And then I think they have little clips of the finishes and everything. So you just have to sign up for an account. It's free. And
you can donate $0 or you can donate $10.
And you have access to everything.
Yeah. And it's also going to be on actual real live television, I think, maybe even tonight. And then December 2nd or something. I think they'll be sharing the broadcast timeline. They'll have a condensed highlight version that'll be an hour long and on real big kid TV. It'll be awesome.
We'll do a couple more questions. It's getting long. Do you guys always get along training side by side? My wife wants to know. I say no. I get pretty focused and sometimes very grumpy when I'm training, and a lot of the time that just makes me quiet. I don't get mad at you, I just don't talk to you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, if every 3 hours, with the exception of her telling me I need to something like that. We're much more vocal when we're outside bike rides, but still, if we were to talk about everything on the bike ride, then we're not gonna have anything to talk about at dinner time. And so sometimes we strike a little bit of a balance between hey, we're coworkers, right? And we're gonna be, a couple at dinner, and sometimes you just want to go for a ride with your girlfriend too. So I think that kind of becomes evident pretty quickly if this is we're at work bike ride or run or not.
It's funny because even if we're not talking, I definitely like
company
being there. Yeah, nice. Him doing the hard workout beside me or the run workout at the same time as me, even if we're passing back and forth with each other, it definitely helps mentally just to feel like you're not the only one out there doing a thing.
I would say the most important thing is to be pretty open and have a communication at the beginning of the workout. Hey, do you want to run together right now? If you don't, it's totally cool. I don't really want to run together. I just want to go think about stuff and not being offended because that person wants a little bit of them time. that's been true for like not just a relationship, but any person that I've ever trained with. If you can be like, I just want to go do my own thing to get it today, and everybody's cool, then huge.
Do you find indoor riding is appropriate for predicting performances outside? I think your watts on the trainer are lower than what you can do outside. So keep that in mind when you're doing like 70.3 pace on the kicker, especially if you're like hot or at altitude. I'd say you're probably 15 or 10 watts lower than you could do in an actual race.
It depends on the person too.
Depends on the person. I held 260 watts in the race, and I had been training my 70.3 pace on the trainer at about 250, 255 at altitude. And it felt way harder training at 250. So
yeah. For me, I don't know what it is, if it's a mental block or just like the way I ride a bike, but it's a bigger spread for me. I could do 2 by 20 minutes on outdoors and ride 340 watts and just be stoked, and trying to do the same thing indoors, and it's a struggle to hit 310. So it's dependent on each person, but I think the effort, just paying attention to the effort is important.
Do you want to talk really quick about like filming stuff, and if that
what
impacts your result? Or
yeah, I mean, I won't lie, it takes me a little bit, it takes a lot of energy to film a thing and then to edit the thing later and everything, and that's been kind of a question that I've been having to ask myself, like what sort of impact the net number of hours that I've worked at editing and filming and stuff affected what we're doing. And yeah, I could probably eke out another 2%, 1%, whatever of a result. But it could also be said that, like, I know I've been in times where I've said no filming, no distractions of any sort, only focus on training, don't think about anything else. And I get so worked up and just like lose sight of some things. And sometimes I just burn myself out that way. I'm always trying to find that balance of like, how can I share our journey and do things like this that just like bring a lot of good to the community and make it, bring a lot of positive feedback to us and build the thing that we're trying to do in this sport versus, trying to like put my head down, forget about all that, and maybe move up one spot in the rankings. So yeah, I'm sure it has an effect, but
what's the best age to start triathlon? My dad just texted me, answer the young kids. How to get started in triathlon.
How to get started in triathlon, I would definitely say start with swimming. You've got a local triathlon club, that's great, but swimming is always a really good place to start. You're not going to like ruin your joints as a young athlete and stuff, and get a really good, strong aerobic base. And I think,
and as you could see, if you watch the Daytona race, having a good swim is pretty critical. I think Lionel would have won by 5 minutes if there was no swim in the race, and Sam Long, and just not having to claw your way back after the swim makes racing way more fun. So start swimming. I didn't do my first triathlon until I was 16, so there's not a huge rush to start super young, although there are programs to start young. I would recommend being more sport specific when you're younger and then getting into triathlon.
And also just 100%, please do not try to go out and do an Ironman when you're 20 years old or a half Ironman. Like I didn't do my first Olympic distance until I was 18 years old, and it just like do local sprints, have fun, do short stuff. Like don't the rush to go out and do an Ironman. Like honestly, neither of us really ever want to do an Ironman. Like we're doing 70.3s now. We feel like that's a good distance. That's reasonable. But if you want to do a bucket list thing, great. But like as a junior, as a youth, just like learn how to go fast and have fun going fast.
Why don't we teach Lionel how to swim? We would actually be super down to invite Lionel to our swim workouts if he invited us to our bike workouts in return.
Yeah, it's like scratch my back, I'll scratch your back.
Okay, I think we should probably wrap up pretty quick. Nick asked us a question if you'd be interested in making films not about triathlon.
Yeah, someday possibly. I think I would be. The thing that I love about filming and bringing content and whatever is that like you can affect them as you can support it or fix their day or whatever. And if I ever came across triathlon related that I had the opportunity to work on that I felt like could really bring some emotion and something special to people's lives, then I'd be interested in doing that after I'm done being an athlete.
Yeah. 45 minutes is a good amount of time.
45 minutes. Wow. Like, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Like, this is completely overwhelming. I
feel bad we didn't answer the question.
We didn't get to everybody's questions.
We could just like keep answering questions.
Yeah.
everyone would get bored.
If you do have more additional questions, like we said, we're going to be answering some questions on Twitch on Friday, just throughout the day. So if you haven't, go do that. And then we'll try to do some things like this more in the future, maybe Wednesday evenings, or if you have any suggestions on when we should do them, let us know.
I mean, if 1,000 people are going to watch, we can do it every day.
We can make TTL Live a new thing.
Just kidding.
So, you guys, thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching the race and all of your wonderful messages and everything. You guys are the best. And
we will see you on Sunday. There will actually still be a video on Sunday. Yeah. That looks pretty and stuff.
Tune in for that. 9 a.m.
Later,
bye,
guys.
Mom.
Yeah. Bye, Sheila.